Hello, good day, everyone. We're here back with Talk Futbol Live with the crew, Ayo, Biodun, and Benga, to discuss Qatar World Cup 2022 wrap up. I hope you guys enjoyed the tournament, and
Yep.
we are just great. I'm just here going to be discussing, what the best, worst and best moments, the best teams, best players, also best upcoming players. But before we go ahead, I would like to start up and talk about our predictions before the competition started. Some of us chose Brazil, some of us chose France, some of us chose Argentina, or at least one of us chose Argentina, meaning me. I chose Argentina. Oh, Benga, you chose Argentina at the beginning?
Well, not at the beginning, towards the tail end.
Okay. Well, I'm talking
Yeah,
about
that,
the
that
Yeah,
doesn't
beginning.
it
count.
doesn't count. It
It
doesn't count.
doesn't
That,
count. We're talking
that's
about before the competition even started.
that's like seeing the cards and now playing towards the cards. Sorry,
Exactly.
no.
And you've all been asking me why I chose Argentina. What did I see? Do I see the future now? I'm like, no, I just used a little logic, which would make me ask you this question. If I tell you I go running 8 a.m. Monday and Friday, and I've been doing that for the past 2.5, 3 years. And someone calls you on a Friday morning and say 8 a.m. on a Friday morning and says, "Hey Ayo, what do you think this Charles is doing right now?" What would you say?
Sleeping. I'm kidding. It's running.
Running,
It's
exactly.
probably running. Yeah.
That was the point. That was logic. Argentina has been the only team, that up to my knowledge, that has held a record that big. In 2.5 years, they have not lost a game. France, Italy, Belgium, name it, England, they have lost in the Euros. Some of them have lost in qualifier. They've lost one or two games, but Argentina for two
Yeah.
to 3 years had not lost a game. So
Mm.
that was enough for me to say this team, they have something going on, and I think they can take the final. Of course, added option was the Messi, news coming out saying this will be his last World Cup, and I know how much he wanted the World Cup. It's the only trophy he doesn't have. So those options together made me believe that this team very solid, has this record, and I think they're gonna keep pushing. Now, when they lost to Saudi Arabia, people, you guys ask me questions like, "What do I think?" I'm like, just was one game. The trick about the World Cup is you get to lose one game in the early stages. You get to lose one game. Once you lose one game, then you can proceed. Now, if you lose the game in knockout stages, that's a different story entirely. So
Yeah.
to answer your question of why did I pick Argentina, that was just the reason. They had a good record, and I had a feeling they were going to keep pushing. And congratulations to them, congratulations
So
to
it
Messi.
was the winning mentality for you.
It was the winning mentality, consistency, proven consistency. I mean, 2.5 years is a very long time to have never lost.
It is.
It's a very long time. So it was a no-brainer for me.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Next, we're going to talk about the World Cup itself, specifically the final, best and worst moments. People have been saying it's the best final ever. I agree. I don't know if you guys all agree. And if you agree or you disagree, you're going to tell us why. But let's start up with Ayo talking about the best and worst moments of the final. What do you think?
Yeah. So I actually had to go back and watch that game again. That game was really good. I have to say I picked France to win, right? And I was annoyed that first half. I wasn't enjoying the game at all because, like I said, when we got to extra time, I was like, okay, now my football heart is content, right? So anybody can win now. Like at that point, I was like, okay, both teams have delivered a World Cup final. And at this point, now anybody can win. But up until the point where the game, switched for France, I was just irritated because I was seeing a lot of things that France wasn't doing that was out of character, and I was wondering, is it because they had the virus going on, or what was going on? So I actually went back because I was like, okay, now that I've the emotion of the moment is out, let me go back and see if what I was feeling in the moment, tallied up with what actually happened during the game. And what I did was I captured the games in a series of screenshots that I'll share. Right.
Okay.
So this is the beginning of the game, right? Early on, France found it really hard to get out. I don't know if you guys remember, but they found it really hard to have possession. They couldn't play out of the back. Every time they tried to play into the midfield, the trio of DePaul, McAllister, and Fernandez would shut them down. They couldn't get out. This is early on in the game. You can see Di Maria Alvarez and Messi lined up against the three. That's another thing I noticed about France, and this is something you probably learn when you're coaching. When the ball goes out wide, the other three defenders, if it's a back four, stay in position. And you have the right back or the left back pull out. France does that a lot. So it becomes actually a 3 or a 4 when they are defending the flank. So this is Upamecano in possession of the ball now. You can see the back three. Hernandez is up here. Okay?
Yep.
So this is early on. France couldn't get out. Okay. I captured this because this was Upamecano was, I think, detailed to mark Messi through the game, and you could see him, staying close to Messi throughout the whole game.
That was the toughest job of the day.
Yeah. One thing that the other reason why France struggled early on was their pressing, and it accounted for why Deschamps made the changes that he did at the 40th minute. So this is at the 34th minute. Mm-hmm. The pressing from Griezmann, Dembele, and Giroud was just non-existent. So this is in the screenshot, you can see it's really the same second, but in this position, Romero is with the ball. Giroud attempts to press, right? So he's trying to press. Mbappe and Griezmann are standing watching. They are not engaging really any of the players. And when Romero passes, De Paul is here, still in the same frame. You can see Giroud is here to him now, but by the time he arrives, De Paul has the ball completely free, completely ready to do whatever. He has time to turn, to think. There's nobody within about 5-6 yards of him.
Yeah.
Right. So this was endemic of France throughout the whole first half. And that was fine, right? Typically for France, if you notice what they do when they don't have the ball, they just sit back and they buy their time to get the ball. But like I said, the problem was every time they got the ball, when they sat back and decided not to press, when they got the ball back, they couldn't play out. So I think Deschamps changed the tactic and decided, okay, we need to have a high press and attack instead.
Okay.
So moving on, this is again the press. I'm just showing the press again. Romero has the ball. You can see he has options to pass to. Molina is completely free. Hernandez is not pushed up. Mbappe is not engaging him. And then this is just before the second goal. You can see the break in transition. Completely free, not engaged. Again, 6 yards back. Yeah. There are 5 players around here, but nobody is really engaging. All right. At this point now, they are 2-0 down. This is the first time I think Mbappe has the ball. And here's the difference. See the difference in how close the Argentinian players are. Mm-hmm. His only option right here is Griezmann, and there's a player within about 4 or 5 yards ready to close down if he attempts to pass the ball back. But going forward, within 2 yards, there are 2 players within close to him. And then, of course, the substitutions happen. And now we start to see a difference. 43rd minutes, Molina tries to play out. Rabiot is now pushed up, ready to engage. He intercepts the ball. Again, 46 minutes. So there was another slight tweak that I noticed was Tchouaméni and Rabiot now started to change positions. And it was Tchouaméni who was engaging in the press, and Rabiot was sitting back in the middle. This is usually where Tchouaméni is, and Rabiot is on the left. They were switching a lot during the game after that switch happened. This is towards the end of the first half. You can see the difference in how close the France players are now to the Argentinian players.
Yeah.
So at this point, this is the second half. Tchouaméni again is up. You can see Rabiot is on the right side of Tchouaméni, which is opposed to how they normally are switched. The 57th minute was the first time I saw Koundé actually get forward. So this is already well deep into the second half before France is actually able to attack and get forward, right?
Yep.
And now we can start to see the differences. France is more engaged. Argentina is sitting back. The middle three are completely nowhere to be found. You can see Griezmann has a lot of space. And I think this is the point where Argentina, I don't know if they started to tire. They decided to try and hold on to the 2-0 lead. But you can see there's a difference. They are sitting back. Griezmann is in space. Tchouaméni is in space. They have options. Again, this was another change that I thought was deficient for France. They had decided, which I thought was early on, I think I mentioned it in a group chat, they decided to sit back, I think, for me, too early. This is 64th minute. Di Maria comes off and Acuna is brought on. A left back brought on as a left midfielder again to try and help with the attack and to hold on to that 2-0 lead.
So you mean Argentina decided to sit back too early?
I think they decided to sit back too early.
Yeah.
I think they should have kept up the press instead
mm-hmm.
of making those defensive changes and a change in their lineup.
Yeah.
So at this point, I think you can see at this point, France is full in their half. They are now actually getting possession. There is nobody in the midfield for Argentina, really. This is just before the second goal, I believe, right? So at this point, at the 70th minute, France has made 4 subs already, looking for a change. Now the penalty happens, right? And this is the 80th minute where the game starts to change.
Mm-hmm.
And this is right a minute later, right before the second goal.
The Mbappe wonder goal.
The Mbappe wonder goal. And I took some snapshots of that. This is Rabiot playing the ball into him. So this is later on, actually. So we show what happens here. Coman actually wins the ball off Messi. And then you can see the finish when the ball comes into Mbappe.
All right.
Yeah,
that is quite loaded. Show the law of the breakdown from beginning, showing a lot of good and bad things that happen in that final. Bjorn, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think again that's why I love this team. That's why I love this group of guys. I hear somebody, I respect his opinion and his analysis a lot. So I think there's nothing to add to it. I think he kind of dissected it. Just few additions that I'm just going to point out because we're talking about the worst moment and the best moment, right? I've been looking for the word to describe how I felt. And, I spoke to a lot of people. I spoke to, even former colleagues on my place of work, spoke to friends. And there's one common theme. And I don't think I've actually asked any one of you here, which is, were you guys tired? Were you guys drained? Were you guys overwhelmed after the game on Sunday? Yep. Like even up to into Monday.
Because it took a lot of energy.
That's exactly that's the common theme that I've been hearing from people. Like that game was, even though it was one of the best games of the World Cup, was really draining. I got tired and all that. That has been the theme for me. So anyway, that one aside, the word I was looking for, and I actually use it, is irritation. I was completely irritated by that first half because I actually went head-to-head with my boss, to say there's no way Argentina is going to win this game. It's going to be France all the way.
France.
And I got into this game and I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I couldn't say it out, but at that point my mind was like, there's no way France will win this game if they continue to play like this. It was obvious.
So let me throw a question in there, Bjorn, just as you're going. Were you irritated because you were rooting for France or because the game was just irritating in game?
Both, but the primary reason was that I was rooting for France. That was the primary reason. But being agnostic, completely non-partisan, right? The game itself could be irritating to anybody. Looking at the final and looking at two teams that were really rated high.
Yeah.
And looking at one just playing lazy. You understand what I'm saying? And there's a guy that we've all talked about that has one of the best work rates in the world that can do anything. It was shut down. Griezmann could not move. And it's a problem for France when Griezmann is unable to move. Again, I know we're going to talk about the coaches, right? And we're going to get to that. But whoever built, Ayo has shown all the screenshots. The way they created their formation around, shut down Rabiot, shut down Griezmann. That was fantastic. Now,
excellent.
What irritated me? The irritation came from France not trying to figure out how can we get out of this boundary. You understand what I'm saying? It took a long time. Now, the prop has to go to Deschamps, and at the same time, I'm still going to fault him when we get into talking about the coaches. He did an excellent move, and I think that was bold and courageous. He made two changes, 41 minutes, and I respected that. Now, why wouldn't you do that, right? This is a World Cup match. This is not a league game whereby you have preseason and you've worked with players. World Cup games, you really work with players, right? So at that point, you needed to make a big move. Everybody knew that Giroud is a great player, but not a great presser. And in my head, I've been thinking as myself, like, okay, who would I sacrifice? So I think it was a great move taking out Giroud because it didn't really push back on the Argentine team. So we needed that. Dembele was a short one, and it was also evident with the penalty. I think that was a mistake. So I actually think France lost the entire game in the first half. They came back, of course, it went to a penalty, but I think they lost that game because if that first half had been muscle to muscle, power to power, 1-1, honestly, I think I'll be rejoicing today rather than just saying, okay, congratulations to Messi, even though my heart doesn't really congratulate him. But now let me just round up with things that Ayo said regarding the Argentine coach making some changes too early. Ayo, if you remember, and like you said, you watched it again, Di Maria, who was a golden boy for that game, right? Who was the joker? Everybody knew, number one, he's aged, so he's old. But at the same time, Di Maria didn't have that strength. That strength started dissipating around 55, 56 minutes, right? Yeah. So the coach was sitting down there. What am I going to do?
He didn't have a choice.
Again, I'm not going to talk about the ballad because nobody knows the internal gist. So for the fact I didn't even bring in another attacker, I don't know and I cannot explain that. So he decided to bring in a defender. So I think his hand was forced. Now, the changes that Deschamps made did well because you brought in great players. Now, why were they sat on the bench? I cannot explain that. Was it because of experience and seniority? I don't know. But you could see the energy that those guys brought in. Now, if those guys had started, they might not have been encouraged to bring in that more energy because you could see the first goal. That was a great run and energy against Otamendi. Yeah, from Otamendi. Giroud could not make such run at this age. That's not possible. We all know that, right? So bringing those two people, I think it was great. I think Di Maria getting tired was also good for France because now he had to, because it was a relief for Koundé. You talked about Koundé then being able to get out. Koundé couldn't get out until that time. So Acuna went out. Di Maria went out. Acuna came in. Koundé could progress. There is so much energy in Thuram and so much energy in Muani that actually helped France. And Griezmann could then start getting out. Rabiot was my guy that day. I remember I said it to the semi-final that we missed Rabiot because he's the only other guy that is also senior and has that experience. Fofana will not be able to figure things out that way. But again, it's a lot of things to talk about. But I want you to bring out or Charles to give their point. But in summary, I was irritated by that first half. That first half, I wish it could have just been erased.
We can tell. But yeah, so you guys have done a lot of breakdown.
Sorry, go ahead, Charles.
Guys to say. Guys, give us your thoughts.
So I didn't watch the first 2 hours in real time. I was at church, so I couldn't, watch it. But post-match analysis, I can understand why Diodo and others could have been irritated real time. But going back to watch it, I think it was a question of the strategy of the two coaches. It wasn't so much of the players, right? I think the champ came in like, let's contend, right? Because we know these guys have high firepower. They're going to be able to, you don't want to mess around with Messi because it can pull off individual brilliance. So let's manage to contend. But that strategy backfired. And when it backfired, it took him time to, balance, okay, well, I still have Messi on the bench. They've scored 2 goals already. Now, should I stop the bleeding? Right? Or should I take, he said, you know what, we're gonna consume more goals, but at least I need to be able to kind of pull some things back. So it was a very difficult situation to kind of manage at the time. So it takes a lot of courage for a coach to make such change because you have reliable hands like Giroud, who he doesn't have pace, but you know that even if he has a simple chance,
he'll put his bottom up.
Put it in.
Yeah, his conversion rate is great. Versus bringing in a more energy player that you've not tested the ability to convert anything, right? So it took a lot of courage to kind of make that change before the halftime. So I think it's realizing if I'm going to lose, at least I need to put up a fight.
I got to lose gracefully.
Right. So at least I need to put up a fight. I can't just sit back and do nothing. So I think it took courage. And on the side of the Argentine, I think it's a repeat of the mistake they made in the quarterfinals against the Netherlands. It's exactly the same scenario. And I'm going to fall back, coach, look, that shouldn't happen to you twice.
Yeah.
How do you give up a 2-0 lead in such a game, in a final?
Yeah.
So it was like as great as the coach was, I think it was his fault that his team had to kind of wait till extra time. Yes,
Yeah.
you pull out Di Maria, bring in someone else. Your strategy was working from the beginning. Don't change that, right?
Yeah.
So that's my take on that. I won't
So, so in
add
the
on
light
too
of
many
talking
other points.
about coaches, which I know if I throw this out, you guys may want to think about the whole tournament, or you may want to stick to the final. Who was the coach of the tournament and why? Benga, we just start from you because you just finished talking. Just give us real quick, coach of the tournament, why?
It's Argentine coach, really.
Scaloni,
Right.
okay?
Scaloni is he is the coach of the tournament. Like
And
really,
the
you
why will
can
be just because he won the
the
tournament?
no, not because he won the tournament. Because even when his back is against the wall, twice, like in the quarterfinals, like actually thrice, they had a demoralizing loss to Saudi Arabia.
Arabia. Mhm.
Picking up the pieces from there, you know, figuring out strategies to get them out, the what do you call it, the group stage into the knockout stages, and even when their back against the wall was against the world in the quarterfinals, figuring out what will make things work to keep the team in the tournament. I give him credit, especially in the finals. That's hard. Like losing a margin of two and still going ahead to win. It takes a lot of good coaching ability and courage to make tough calls.
Okay.
Yeah.
Aya, what do you think? Coach of the tournament and why?
Yeah, for me it's Regragui, Walid Regragui of Morocco. And
Oh, that's
simply
also
for the
picking.
fact that he had very little time. He took over as coach in August, I believe, versus Scaloni, who I think has had a couple of years with the team. He's
Yep.
had the opportunity to try out players. This is someone who is coming in brand new. It reminds me a lot of when Arteta took over and within months won the FA Cup, right? So for me, it shows the tactical astuteness of a coach when you're able to come in, see what you have on ground, and get a winning team together. So yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Bjorn, you seem to have a lot to say. What do you
No, no, not really, because as you can tell from the group chat, right? Ayo and I kind of align most of the time, right? He basically took what I was gonna say,
because
right?
you're both
And
Arsenal
I'm like,
fans?
maybe I should have gone first, right? But just joking about that, right? I would have loved to give it to Scaloni, right? But I can't because I had to, I had to look at the stats again, look at the records, and look at the game, just reflect on what has happened. I think the Moroccan coach deserved to be the best coach of the tournament. For those reasons that Ayo mentioned, this guy took over in August, right?
Mhm.
Record wise, these guys has only coached Morocco 10 games, right?
Mm,
Including the World Cup games. He's won five, he's lost three, he's drawn two. That's a
mm,
50% success rate. And he took over from winning the third CAF Champions League for the club. So he came from winning the African Champions League for Wydad FC. He he played for Morocco. He used to be
I think it was the
former
right
player
back, right?
himself, right back,
Mhm.
and I think he even played fullback at some point. So, as a player, homegrown, played for the national team. I think he has served the nation very well, and somebody with a very little time on the job. And like I said earlier, right, national team coach is not. It's great, but it's also one of the challenging ones because you don't have enough time to spend with your players.
It's the players, yeah.
This is a job that you have to think quickly around strategy, around how they want to play because you have them for very limited time compared to coaching them as a club, right? So for him
Mhm.
to resume and get on a job that was not even a favorite, it was not even loved, he was actually nicknamed in Morocco, but shrugged off all that criticism, took them to the World Cup, took Africa to the very first semi-final, which is going to be in history, right? Um,
Mhm.
I think he deserved to be recognized for the job he had done.
Yes, done.
Scaloni had been on the job for since 2018. This champ
Mhm.
has been around for a while. Most of these guys are have more talented players compared with what White has to work with.
To work
So
with.
having few talented players, short time to work with, and you made it to the semi-final. I think you deserve to be the coach of the tournament.
Fair enough, fair enough. Yeah, coincidentally, I never usually agree with you guys, but I actually agree today. Yeah, the Moroccan coach definitely deserves all the credit
But
for
like you,
all those reasons you guys said. Now, Scaloni is not a wrong choice to bring up, but the
yeah.
Moroccan coach with such little time with the players. And I mean, Scaloni has the players, man. Those players are hungry. They have the best player in the world, in my opinion. Some people still disagree. So I think there's a joke we used to crack at some points. The PSG team, even a grade C coach can win the league with them. That's kind of what happened with Scaloni. Not saying he didn't do anything, but he kind of has the players for it. The Moroccan coach, on the other hand, has some players, but not the level of the Argentine players. And you could tell he has put in work because one, he had to spend time with those players as much as the other coaches had. And he did what no other African coach had done. So taking his team to the semifinals, that's a big deal. So yeah, I will give it to him. I mean, Argentina has been in the final before, France have been in the final before, So I'll give it to the Moroccan coach. But moving on from coaches now, I want us to talk about
Scaloni was the one who won Copa America, right?
Yeah.
So I think he deserves honorable mention.
Say that one more time.
It deserves again. Like I said I would have loved to give it to Scaloni. He's been with the team since 2018. As a matter of fact, this is the guy that encouraged Messi to come back.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Messi was saying like, I'm done, right? This is the guy that encouraged him to come back, and he had helped him. And he's also, think about it, right? Maradona once coached Argentina. He failed, even with all the prestige and the names and all that. One thing Scaloni has done that I appreciate, right, is that he has decided to sit back and let somebody else shine, even as a manager, which is difficult, right? And it's difficult to coach, like Charles was saying. We had previous PSG coaches, right? Even the former Tottenham guy, right? That went there. When you have stars on your team, and we know what's going on with our guy, CR7, right? It's coaches. For you to manage great players, world stars, right? Scaloni has been the guy sitting at the back and just doing the work behind and letting the guys have their moments.
Yeah, you just have to drag CR7 into it.
You could give it to any of the 4 coaches that made the last 4, right? If you look at the Croatian coach, I said 2 World Cups back to back. Getting your team that far. Deschamps, the same thing. Getting them to that last 4. Scaloni, going through like managing such talents and keeping that consistency. The Moroccan coach, any one of those 4 could have, easily been there because they did extraordinary things just, by their own shares. But I agree with the analysis for the Moroccan coach, just given the kind of resources and the limited amount of time that he had to at least attain that feat. Yeah.
Okay. Great. So I was gonna just dive into this point of talking about the players, but we're just gonna take it real quick. We're talking about the best, in your opinion, best young player and the best player of the tournament. And I'll just go first, make it simple. Croatian Guardiola, the defender, which I think should come to Chelsea. I always root for my team. You should come and replace Thiago Silva. But yeah, Croatian young boy Guardiola, I think he's just 22 or so. I think aside from the
20
Messi,
actually.
Oh, 20? Okay.
Yeah.
So aside from the Messi turnaround, he had a great tournament. I would give him, my young player of the tournament. Now, of course, when you talk about my best player of the tournament, it has to be Lionel Messi. I think I always say one thing, or I said something a few days ago. We think Messi's slow down is about age. I think it's about happiness. I think Messi in PSG is not as happy as the Messi in Barcelona, which caused the slowdown. The Messi we saw at the World Cup was the Messi of 5 years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. So I think when things are perfect around him, I guess he's an emotional player. When things are perfect around him, you will get the best out of him. So Messi is by far, to me, the best player of the tournament. I saw his tweet after the loss to Saudi Arabia, and he said, the Argentines are losing faith, but we want to encourage you. We will not let you down. I was impressed. Even I was encouraged, and I'm not from Argentina, And I was just very impressed with the way he went about. I was just outperforming every game. Every game was just getting better and better and better. To me, that was the player of the tournament. The player of the final was Mbappe, but the player of the tournament, Lionel Messi.
Wait. Mbappe is what for you again?
Player of the final. I mean, he scored 4 goals. He scored 4 goals. Man. I know.
So wait. So we're picking the young player of the tournament, What are those 3 things you're looking for?
Just again? 2 things. I was just throwing that out there.
Honorable
young
mention
player of the tournament, young player of the tournament and player of the tournament. Biodun,
So, quick question before I respond: what is your criteria? Is there like an age limit to young? How do you define young player of the
25
tournament?
below, 23 below.
25 below,
Ayo, what do you think?
23. I think 23.
23
23
below.
because of okay. All right, so that makes it easy for me because I was struggling. I'm gonna go with Trameni. Trameni is a little older than Vadio. I respect the guy. Uh, I still think it needs to be tested. He did great, but I knows me. It takes me a while to actually crown a player. I have to see a lot. That's why I was on the fence. Even I'm still a little bit on the fence with Saliba. Even though that's Io's best defender in Arsenal. So I can't give it to Vadio yet. I'm gonna give it to Trameni because he's been tested and tried. So that's my young player of the tournament. My player of the tournament, all because I just want to prove that I respect Messi, but I don't. I'll give it to Mbappe. You know why? 3 goals, and that's the only guy that has shared the same stage in terms of records, scoring the highest number of goals in the World Cup tournament with Pele. So scoring 3 in the final, I think that's remarkable. And you know why? It's more like the best thing that happened. How can you be so bold to take 3 penalties against the same goalkeeper in the game? That third one he took. Honestly, I said, don't do it. Don't do it. Why would you do it? I felt like that was pride, and I think that was like overconfident. But he stepped on.
Yeah.
At his age, he stepped on, defied everybody, took that penalty,
Very
scored
impressive.
3
Harry
penalties
Kane
against
couldn't even
the
take
same
2.
goalkeeper. And this is not an ordinary goalkeeper. This is a goalkeeper that is great at, in penalties.
Yeah.
I crowned him that day. No,
Yeah.
he deserved to
Good
be.
one.
He
Good
deserved
one.
to be
I said,
appreciated.
Harry Kane couldn't even take 2 against Loris.
No, he couldn't. He couldn't. So, Mbappe stepping up and doing that at his age, I think is the player of the tournament. And he also got the golden boot. So
Yep.
that's why.
Benga, what
Yeah,
do you think? Player of the tournament, young player of the tournament.
I will agree with both of Jordan's choices.
Mm.
Germany is definitely for me the young player of the tournament. It takes a lot of courage and boldness to essentially did what he did throughout the tournament. I think someone was saying is um, um, what is it? What do you call him? Kante, like
Yeah.
6 or
He's a
7 years
Kante replacement.
younger. Like Kante 6 or 7 years younger. I think I actually think he did better than Kante will have done in terms of how he stepped up because of his age. Because of his age.
That's another conversation. We won't go there yet.
No, wait. Because of his age, I'm assuming Kante at his own age doing something similar at that kind of a stage.
Kante was
Right?
the only player that could
That's
stop Messi in the last World Cup.
no.
Keep going.
I hear you on that front, but I'm looking at the age comparison, like just
Yeah,
because of his age.
Gotcha.
So I think at Kante's age, you would definitely be able to do something similar to what Kante is currently doing. And player of the tournament, I was actually a little bit conflicted, before Jordan's analysis. A part of me says it's Messi, and the reason for that is at that age, being able to do what he did. Come on now, like we know, like players of his age, what like as great as they might be, like literally outrunning some players that were 10, 12 years younger than him.
Younger than him.
Mm-hmm.
That's an incredible, sporting ability alone in itself, and then coupled with the fact that he had results to show for it.
Yep.
But I don't want to take it away from Mbappe. Right?
Mm.
He carried an entire nation on his shoulder.
Yeah, he did.
3 goals in a final
World Cup
at
final.
that stage against a team like that. Look, and at that age, he's an incredible player. I saw that second goal that he literally outpaced every single person to get that penalty.
Yep.
Like nobody does that. Like when your team is 2-0 down and something needs to happen and you show up not just once, not twice, not 3 times, 4 times. Right, including the penalties you took. Like having the courage to be the first person to take that. If he lost that ball, that could speak to lot to his reputation within France, particularly regardless of how many goals he has scored. So
Yeah.
for that reason, I'm giving it to him.
Okay, fair enough. 2 Mbappe, 1 Messi. Ayo, over to you.
Yeah, so for me, I'll keep it very straightforward. I think I agree in some essence with everything you guys said. For me, it was Viadol at the back. It's not Tchouaméni for me because I think Tchouaméni is lacking a little bit, and I've talked about Tchouaméni a lot on this show, right? Like I was really impressed with Tchouaméni because I thought France will fall short in midfield, and Tchouaméni filled that slot beautifully. It was almost like they didn't miss Pogba and Kante. And to say that you don't miss those two is saying a lot.
Yep.
But I think there's just a little bit deficiency that I think he's missing, which is in his ability to read the game when defending. And that's maybe for me the only reason why I didn't pick him. Vadio at 20, that was really impressive to be able to read balls, to be a ball playing defender who can read the game, who can carry the ball. It's not easy to do that and do that with that maturity, which is another reason I really like Saliba. The player of the tournament for me is Messi, no doubt. I love Mbappe. Mbappe delivered. It was impressive what he did in the final. But I think Mbappe, there were times when through the tournament, Mbappe wasn't needed. Other players could step up in his place.
Yeah.
For Argentina, everybody did the work, but when it came time to get the results, I think he scored 6 goals in the tournament, and 5 of those goals were the first goal Argentina scored in each of those games.
Yes, yeah.
And we've seen that in past tournaments. At previous 2014 World Cup, in the Copa America, they failed to win. Even when they won the Copa America, he carried the team. And so for me, that's why it's Messi. He carried the team in every game. He was the main guy. You know he's the main guy, but he still finds a way to unlock the defense. Even when he didn't score, you could recall the pass that he made to Molina against Netherlands in the quarterfinal. So for me, that's why.
I know we're not here to debate or argue. Everything you've said is
But
the
you want
same
to
thing
debate and
Mbappe
argue.
did. But there's, I don't think you've convinced
Mbappe
me
didn't
enough
do that
to
in
say
every
there's
game.
something. No, not really though. You said Mbappe didn't need to. So in those games, they still won. They still succeeded. Meaning they really didn't need Mbappe because other people could step in and do the job.
So in
But when
other
the matter
words,
goes,
without
so for
Mbappe,
example,
it would have been fine.
against Denmark, it was difficult. Mbappe stepped up. So in the difficult moments, that's when you know whether a player is ready to carry. And that's when Mbappe showed up in those difficult moments. Like the final game, like against Denmark, that game was difficult. He showed up in those games.
But every game was difficult for Argentina.
Exactly. Let me break it down
But
for
again,
you.
I know we don't.
Argentina
I
had
was
more
just looking for that
difficult
something
game.
that you could use to convince me to say specifically this one thing is what Messi did differently.
So let me put it the way I think Charles is going to put it. If Mbappe was ill or injured, in most of the games, France would have been fine. They would have still won.
Exactly.
If Messi was missing in probably any game, Argentina would have made the final.
Exactly.
But wasn't that expected? As the former Ballon d'Or.
Expected or not, you can expect it and it doesn't happen. It was expected and it
Mbappe
happened.
is going to win the Ballon d'Or. I think we can confidently say Mbappe is going to win the Ballon d'Or. And
yeah,
I'm not sure. People are saying that Messi might win it again.
Yeah, we're not saying he's going to win it now.
People are saying Messi might win it.
He's
he's going to win at some point, but the next one,
the next one is Messi.
It depends on where
it's the FIFA Golden Boy, right? So
yeah. That's it.
All right, let's move on from that. We can argue Mbappe versus Messi all night, but what we're going to do just to wrap up is just look at our teams. We had all selected teams of the tournament, a lot of similar options, but I think we should look at the ones that are different. Some people had different goalkeepers. You can bring up, one team at a time.
Is there a way you can show the entire four? Is there a way you can show everything together, Ayo?
Oh yeah, I should be able to do that. Let's
we can.
Play around with it a little bit here.
Together.
Yes. So as I say, some people had some similar, like Hakimi. I know some people had Hakimi. Some people had. Everybody had Messi. If you didn't have Messi, I don't know what you're doing. If you didn't have Mbappe, I don't know what you're doing. You understand? So we all have some players that we can't really debate why they are there or why they are not there. So I think we should just talk about the ones that are there, 1 versus 1. I'll start from the goalkeepers. I know a lot of people have Martinez. So I see Livakovic and I see Martinez. I chose Martinez. Who chose Livakovic?
I did.
Chose Livakovic. Okay.
I did.
I chose Martinez. Honestly, I'll be sincere with you. It was between those two, but I had chosen Martinez. I had turned in my result before realizing, Livakovic. you know. So I feel like you can't go wrong with either. But Martinez won the trophy, so I guess that's what made me choose him eventually. Why did you choose Livakovic, Biodo?
Oh, great one. So Livakovic conceded 7 goals. Martinez conceded 8 goals. Livakovic had 2 clean sheets. Martinez, I don't remember if he had any clean sheet. Actually, against what's it called? Croatia, the 1-3-0. So I think he had 1. So he had 1 clean sheet. Livakovic had 2 clean sheets. Livakovic conceded 7 goals. He conceded 8 goals. As a former Arsenal guy, I like him. I respect him, but I think all those stupid gestures at that final game actually made me disqualify the guy. I don't think it was needed. I'm okay with the dance, but I think all those other gestures, I think it's getting into his head too much. And I'm waiting for him to come back to Aston Villa to chop so many goals. He will be embarrassed so much. So you can return right now and see if he's the best living at exactly, so that his brain can be reset. So that's why. Yeah.
Who else chose Livakovic? Did you choose Livakovic or Martinez?
I did. So this is being guys. I chose Livakovic, and it's really honestly for the same reason Biodo had. Character is very important for me, and for me it was just a matter of character. I think he's an excellent keeper, but for me character says a lot. If I'm the coach, I don't think Martinez is probably a personality I would want to deal with. He seems like the kind of person that would, disagree with my tactics or cause a rift if he doesn't agree with what's going on. And I don't tolerate such characters in my team.
So, Benga, do you realize the 2 Arsenal fans chose a former Arsenal goalkeeper?
I know, right?
Yeah, something is But I'm going to push that aside. Just say
it's not a beef. It's not a beef. He left in peace. We'll let him go. So
I'm wondering why nobody chose Bono though.
I actually was just thinking about that right now. Like, why not Bono?
It was fantastic.
It was fantastic. Yeah.
It was good, but it would have been my number 3. It would have been my number 3. So that's why. I mean, you said you wanted 1, so that's why.
Okay. All right. So moving on. I can see clearly we have Roman Saiz for some people. We have Hakimi, Guardiola, Theo Hernandez.
Wait,
Tchouaméni.
three of us has the same center backs.
Not really. Someone is playing it back.
I think everybody.
I said 3 of us.
Oh,
3 of us.
Okay.
Yeah. 3 of us has the same center backs.
Considering I was the first person to turn in my team, then we know who.
I didn't look at your stuff.
We know where you guys got yours from.
I didn't cheat, man.
I'm messing with you. All right, so let's see.
Something though that Hakimi was picked by everyone
except me. I don't think I picked Hakimi.
Did I? Yeah.
Oh no, I did pick Hakimi. It was Ziyech I didn't pick. Sorry,
no,
it was Ziyech I didn't pick, but that's fine. So yeah, this is mine. Good. There was someone I was going to mention now. Ziyech. I didn't pick Ziyech. We guys, those who pick Ziyech on the top right, is that a? Okay,
that's Bengals.
So Ziyech, that's a wing back row for Ziyech.
It's wing back row.
Do you want him to come back and defend? Because I don't think he's able to do that.
I don't need him to defend. This is an all-attacking team for me.
All-attacking team, no defense.
Nice song.
Nobody's
like I figured, and my analysis is
one center back.
Like a lot of the teams, some of the teams that made it, way to the last 4, like Croatia, Morocco, they focus on building walls, right? But I realized that if you have the right attacking formation, those walls will crumble.
Okay.
So I'm not wasting my time. If I have like Griezmann and Modric in the midfield that can work magic with Messi leading the line in that space, and I have Alvarez and Mbappe up front, I don't care what happens at the back. Right.
Okay.
Most likely, once you are, completely in charge of the midfield, yes, you might concede, but you have enough firepower to get more goals as well.
To get more goals. Okay, so I noticed something. You mentioned if you have a midfield of Modric, Messi, who is the one on the lower left that was disrespectful enough not to choose Modric? Who is that?
Me?
You?
That was me.
Why?
Yep.
No, two of us. Two of us did not choose Modric. 2 of us did not. Didn't you see that? There's no Modric on my team as well.
It's an Arsenal thing. Why didn't you choose Modric?
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
He's a former Tottenham guy, but I'm just joking with that.
Yeah.
I know you're not joking.
Yeah, we
No,
know.
no. The joke about Tottenham was a joke. I mean, he's left Tottenham for a very long time. So I'll tell you this, right?
Give us your reason. Give us your real reason.
Modric is a great player. Again, I'm trying to choose my best 11, right?
Okay.
Not everybody will fit into my best 11. This is how I want my team to play. And again, I know somebody could tear my team down and say you're too defensive. That's okay. You could notice I have double four. I have a double four on my team, right? I have Amrabat and I have Tchouaméni because I just want to lock you guys down. Like you guys are done. You are shut down. I was actually between Amrabat and Brozovic, right? Because obviously Cho is my boy, right? So I was in between Brozovic and Amrabat, but I wanted experience and an older person, right, as well. So I have Amrabat and Tchouaméni to shut down that midfield for me, so that Silva can do all the magic with Messi. I mean, see my two playmakers there. You are done, right? Messi and Silva can interchange. They can switch, right? And they can shut down the ball. They will put the ball in between their legs and you won't get it. Mbappe can give you pace on that place and knock you down, right? And Alvarez with that work rate. I was in between Alvarez and Harry Kane. I noticed I picked Harry Kane. But I'm like, man, let me just finish up everybody. And just have Alvarez do the counter, because Harry Kane want to come to the middle and build from the center. You don't need to do that. You already have Messi and Bernardo Silva to do that for you. So Alvarez, counter, let's launch. Boom, 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 goes all the way, I mean, Amrabat, very reliable.
All right, Ayo, what about you? Why did you choose Modric?
Yeah, so for me, I think it was maybe just the age factor. I don't think he ever played 90 minutes in any game for Croatia in the World Cup, and I think that speaks a little bit to where he's at. He had a lot of interceptions. He has the most interceptions at the World Cup. I think he had 13 across all games that he played. So he's still a very good player. I just don't think that he's at the level of where we've known him to be. And when I put my team together, I like to play with a 4-2-3-1. I like the two defensive midfielders to both be very capable of high energy, being able to intercept danger, and also being able to carry the ball. And so that's why I went with Declan Rice and with Enzo Fernandez. I was very impressed with Enzo Fernandez. I hadn't really seen him play a lot until the final, so I paid particular attention to him in the final, and I was impressed. And Declan Rice, for me, has matured a lot. I know that might be a surprise pick for people, but Declan Rice hardly put any foot wrong for me at this World Cup, and even when I've seen him at West Ham this season, he's there intercepting danger. He's able to carry the ball forward. He's able to control and dictate tempo, which is essentially what I need from my midfield.
All right.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to make it for me.
That was good. Yeah, this has been a very good segment. It's good to just hear the opinions of everyone and see into your minds and how you think. How someone would choose Harry Kane over Alvarez because Harry Kane comes back. I don't understand it. I don't want you to defend it, Biodun. But it's fair to see a lot of players were picked evenly. Messi, Mbappe, Tchouaméni was picked by a lot of people. Theo Hernandez, Guardiola. So, like you said, the backline and the goalkeepers are very, very similar. So it's good to see that we are watching the competition and we are all kind of feeling the same vibes from it all. But anyway, to wrap up, would you guys say is the player to watch from these lineups you have for the rest of the season? Just throw out the name for the clubs in their various clubs. Player to watch for the rest of the season.
For my team or for
your team. No, for your team.
I think I would love to see more of Alvarez based on what I've seen in the World Cup. I think he can deliver for City, but I think he's still going to be played as a second fiddle to Alan regardless.
Yeah.
But I think I would love to see him more playing alone and let him just play alone and see how much he can do. Maybe it's going to be in FA Cup or community issue. Carabao, whatever. But I think he has it in him. Plus, he's been in City before Alan, right? It was supposed to be the guy even before Alan came, right? So I think he should be given more chance, and I think he can do it.
Was he? I thought they were signed at the same time.
I think it was
no, it was loaned. It was loaned. No. It was signed a season before last season. It was loaned back. So it was brought back. Yeah. Gotcha. So it was brought back to the first team.
So player to watch for is Alvarez.
Okay.
Biodun, wait. Okay. I'm so sorry. When I was talking about Harry Kane earlier, I thought it was Biodun that had Harry Kane on his team. Okay. Biodun, I think that.
No, I did.
That's so Ayo.
That's high. Yeah.
Ayo, so who's your man to watch for the rest of the season?
There are a lot of names.
You can only pick one. I knew you're going to start with a lot of names. You can only pick one.
For the rest of the season, maybe I would go with Mbappe, because for me, I think Mbappe needs to leave PSG to win the Champions League. And for me, I want to see if he can deliver what he's been doing for France and what he did for that final to carry PSG to the final. If he's not able to do it this season, I would say I'm right. He needs to leave PSG if he wants to win the Champions League.
Okay. All right. Good one. Benga, what about you?
I want to kind of be a little bit selfish about my selection here. So player to watch for me is Ziyech. I love to see him bring that energy back to Chelsea to just turn things around a little bit. I saw the passion and the energy that he kind of at least put up in the World Cup. A fraction of that would be very helpful, at least for Chelsea.
Yeah.
And just to kind of
you need it.
Very much.
We need a lot of that. But I do agree with Ayo as well on Mbappe. I personally feel like PSG is not a place for him. He needs to go elsewhere to really shine, and it will be another player to just watch out for the rest of the season.
Okay. I would say my own player to watch is no other but Lionel Messi. Not because of what he has done in the past, but what I think he will try to do for the rest of the season just to seal the ballon, the 8th ballon. He already won the World Cup. If PSG dares get to even the semi-final of the Champions League, I think Messi has a hold on the ballon, on his 8th ballon. Also, I just heard today that he has confirmed he's going to sign for PSG. So he's going to stay in PSG beyond 2023. So maybe we're going to start getting the happy Messi in PSG. So I look forward to him doing what he did in the World Cup for the rest of the season. And with that, I guarantee he's going to get his 8th ballon. And hopefully we can all be happy.
Can I ask a quick question before we
wrap up? No, you cannot. The show is over. I'm just joking. All
right. Sorry for our viewers. Thank you that you're still on. My quick question is this. Why are you guys lowering the expectation for PSG? You've got your whatever goats on the team. You've got Mbappe, my player of the tournament, your player of the final. And you've got Neymar on the team. I mean, come on, guys. This is not acceptable. You've got a great team. Hakimi is on that team.
Ayo, that is for you. I'm not lowering
everybody is lowering the expectation. Again, I am not saying they will win. I don't even think they will win it. But I think it's just it shouldn't be acceptable. I think we are accepting the fact that they don't win it. It's okay. This is a team that should be winning the Champions League. Mbappe should be winning the Champions League because you have all the ingredients to make it happen. That's my point.
It's not about the players. It takes more than the players. You have the coaching crew, right? That helps put that team together. Right? If it's just by the players, they should be winning all of the games that ever exist out there.
Again, this is an argument that I don't think anyone is going to win or lose, right?
Yeah.
Messi won the World Cup, and everybody's saying Messi being on the team. That's a player. It's a player factor. But now we're saying that it's not a player factor for PSG.
It is, because we talked about
it's a combination of players and coaching.
Yeah.
Right? So that the coach can coach all the ones. If the players don't show up, forget it. The players can be as great as they can be. If the coaching crew is not good, forget it. So it's not singular factors, right? It's a combination of a lot of things that needs to work together to win tournaments.
So the question is, shouldn't PSG be fighting and
they should be
winning this Champions League?
They should be.
I guess the real question should be this. The real question should be this. It's a yes or no question, and we wrap up. Do you guys think PSG can win the Champions League this year? I say yes. No, can they? Can they win the Champions League this year? I say yes. Who says no?
Yes. Can? Yes.
Can? Yes. Should? Yes.
Could? Yes.
Can
they? Do they have the tools? Yes.
No.
Should they?
They cannot.
Yes.
Okay. So
yes, they should, because they have the finances and they have the team.
Why not, Wenger? What do you see?
Yeah, that's my next question. Why not?
I don't think their coaching bench is good enough to win that tournament. Period.
We may revisit this when the season is over. When they win the Champions League.
Yeah, we'll probably have a show on the Champions League. So
thank you. This has been wonderful. Thank you, all viewers, for tuning in, and we really appreciate your presence. Like, this video, like almost of the other videos, subscribe, start hearing from you, make comments also. And it's been a wonderful World Cup, Qatar 2022. Season begins December 26th, Monday, December 26th, 2022. So
EPL.
the EPL season.
English
So we look
Premier
forward to that. Thank you, guys. This has been great. So we look forward to the next session. Have a good night.
Awesome.
Thanks. Bye-bye.